"Sir, something is growing on my back," whispered the alien orphan girl, the trade station Kepri. Nine never truly slept. Lights stayed bright at all hours, engines hummed behind metal walls, and thousands of different species moved through its long corridors every day. Voices in 100 languages mixed with machine sounds, creating a constant low noise that most beings learned to ignore. Elia's ward noticed the silence instead. It happened while he was finishing his shift in the outer relief sector, a place most travelers avoided. Cargo workers passed through here, but few stopped. The walls were old, the lighting dimmer, and the air vents leaked warm air that smelled faintly of oil. Elias had worked humanitarian duty for years, long enough to sense when something was wrong. He paused near a row of unused storage pods. Between two large vents, he saw movement. At first, he thought it was a maintenance drone. Then he saw small hands pull back into the shadows. Elias lowered his posture and spoke gently. "Hey, it's all right. I won't hurt you." The translator in his collar broadcast the words in several common galactic tongues. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then a thin face appeared from behind the vent cover. Large, dark eyes reflected the station lights. The child was clearly alien, her skin a pale blue-gray with faint patterns along her cheeks. She wore no shoes, and her clothing was too thin for the station's recycled air. She stared at him like a trapped animal. Elias slowly placed the ration bar he was holding on the floor and stepped back. "Food," he said, pointing. "For you." The girl hesitated. Hunger finally won. She crawled forward, grabbed the bar, and retreated again. She ate quickly, hands shaking. Elias waited, keeping his movements slow. He had seen this before: war refugees, lost children, species the galaxy preferred not to see. When she finished eating, she looked up at him again. "Do you have a name?" Elias asked. Her translator clicked softly as it tried to interpret her whisper. "I had one." Elias felt a familiar tightness in his chest. "That's okay, you don't have to tell me." He activated his wrist console and scanned her from a distance. The results appeared instantly. Species Trellari, status orphaned. Population status critically reduced. Notes from the Galactic Council labeled them as non-priority survivors from a minor border conflict that had ended years ago. Non-priority. Elias clenched his jaw. "You shouldn't be alone here," he said quietly. "Let's get you somewhere warm." The girl froze, fear flashing across her face. "They take us away," she said. "They lock us." Elias understood. Quarantine zones, containment wards, places where forgotten species disappeared quietly. He knelt so his eyes were level with hers. "I won't let that happen," he said. "I promise." Promises were dangerous things, but Elias meant it. He guided her through the quieter corridors, avoiding patrol routes. The human relief bay was small but clean. Warm lights filled the room, and the hum of life support systems was steady and calm. The girl relaxed almost immediately, curling up on a padded bench. Elias offered her a blanket. She took it and wrapped herself tightly, watching him the entire time. "Can you tell me how long you've been here?" he asked. She shook her head. "Time is different when you hide." That made sense. Elias logged her presence as temporary intake and began preparing a simple meal. While he worked, he noticed her flinch and shift uncomfortably. "Are you hurt?" he asked. She hesitated, then nodded slowly. "It hurts when I breathe deep." Elias frowned. He gently activated a handheld scanner and moved it around her body, careful to keep distance. The readings were mostly normal for her species until the scanner reached her upper back. The device beeped sharply. Elias looked closer at the display. There was an irregularity beneath the skin, faint but distinct. Tissue growth, active. He kept his voice calm. "Does it hurt here?" he asked, pointing just below her shoulder blades. She swallowed. "Yes." "How long?" Her voice dropped to a whisper. "It started today, after I thought they would find me." Fear-triggered response, Elias thought. Some species had strange biological reactions to stress. He had seen glowing skin, hardened bones, even temporary invisibility. Still, this reading was unlike anything in his database. He finished preparing the food and handed her a warm bowl. "Eat slowly," he said. "I'm going to take care of this." She nodded, trusting him with a seriousness that felt far too heavy for someone so small. As she ate, Elias sent a quiet data ping to the central medical system, requesting information without alerting station authorities. The reply came back with a warning symbol. "Unknown biological formation detected. Recommend isolation and council review." Elias exhaled slowly. "No, not yet." He sat across from her, keeping his posture relaxed. "What happened to your family?" he asked gently. Her hands tightened around the bowl. "They sent us away, said the war was not ours, but ships came anyway." Elias said nothing. He didn't need details. He had heard versions of this story too many times. After she finished eating, her breathing grew uneven. She pressed a hand against her back, wincing. "It's worse," she whispered. Elias stood and moved closer, scanning again. The growth had increased slightly. It wasn't random. It followed a pattern, symmetrical and deliberate. "This is going to sound strange," he said carefully, "but your body might be trying to protect you." Her eyes widened. "Protect how?" Before he could answer, alarms echoed faintly through the corridor outside the bay. Elias stiffened. That sound didn't belong in this sector. A voice came over the station network. "Unregistered life form detected. Relief personnel report immediately." They were already looking. The girl's breathing became shallow. "They're coming," she said. "They always come." Elias knelt in front of her and placed a hand over his heart, a human gesture he hoped the translator would explain. "Listen to me. You are not a problem, you are not dangerous, and I am not leaving you." Her eyes filled with tears she didn't let fall. A sharp pain shot through her back. She cried out softly and curled forward. Elias scanned again, heart pounding. The growth was accelerating now, responding to stress levels. He adjusted the medbay's lighting, dimming it, and lowered the temperature slightly. "Look at me," he said. "Breathe with me, slow." She tried. The pain eased just a little. Footsteps echoed outside the door. Elias stood and faced it, shoulders squared. The door slid open, revealing 2 station security officers and a tall alien medical official. Their eyes went straight to the girl. "There," the official said, "that's the Trellari." Elias stepped in front of her without thinking. "She's under human relief protection." The alien's crest flared. "She is an unknown biological risk." "She's a child," Elias replied evenly. "She is a potential hazard," the official insisted. "Our scans detected abnormal growth." Elias didn't deny it. "So did mine, and it doesn't match any weapon profile." The official hesitated. "That is precisely the concern." The girl clutched the blanket behind him. "Sir," she whispered, her voice barely audible. Elias glanced back. Her eyes were wide with fear. She pressed her hand against her back again. "Something is growing on my back," she whispered. The room seemed to grow colder. The alien medical official's eyes widened. "You see." "She is aware of it." "Yes," Elias said quietly, "because it hurts and because she's scared." The official straightened. "Step aside, she will be transferred to containment." Elias didn't move. "I won't let you lock her away," he said. "Not without proof that she's a danger." "Human," the official snapped, "your species has a history of emotional interference." Elias met their gaze steadily, "and a history of protecting what others abandon." The growth beneath the girl's skin pulsed faintly, visible even without a scanner now. The officers shifted uneasily. "This situation is escalating," one of them said. Elias felt the weight of the moment press down on him. He knew how this usually ended. Fear won. Silence followed, but this time he thought someone was watching, someone was trusting him. "Give me time," Elias said. "1 hour, let me stabilize her." The official hesitated, calculating risk. At last, they nodded once. "1 hour, after that we return." The door slid shut. The girl let out a shaky breath. "You stayed," she said. Elias turned back to her and knelt again. "I told you I would." Outside, the station continued its endless motion, unaware that in one quiet room something ancient and misunderstood was awakening. Not out of anger, but out of fear, hope, and the simple need to protect the one human who had chosen not to walk away. The hour Elias had asked for felt far shorter than it should have been. Inside the human relief bay, time seemed to move in uneven steps. The station outside continued as normal, but in the small room the air felt heavier, charged with quiet tension. Elias moved carefully, adjusting medical instruments, checking readings again and again. He kept his voice calm, even when his thoughts were not. The girl lay on her side on the padded bench, the blanket pulled up to her chin. Her breathing was shallow but steadier than before. Sweat beaded on her forehead, and now and then she winced, fingers tightening in the fabric. "Does it still hurt the same?" Elias asked softly. She shook her head. "It changes, like pressure, like something wants to stretch." Elias nodded, though worry twisted inside him. He scanned her back again. The growth had become clearer. What had once been a faint irregularity now showed layered tissue, dense but flexible. It was growing outward, not inward, and that detail mattered more than most doctors in the galaxy would admit. Outward growth meant protection, not attack. He sent a restricted data packet through the human medical network, bypassing the station's main system. The reply came quickly, filled with warning symbols and red text. No known match. Pattern resembles defensive morphogenesis. Rare. Theoretical, Elias swallowed. Of course, he muttered. The girl watched him closely. Am I broken? She asked. No, Elias said immediately. You're changing, that doesn't mean broken. She looked down at her hands. They always said my people were wrong, too slow. Too strange. Elias pulled a chair closer so he was at her level. Humans were called wrong too, he said, for a long time. Her eyes lifted, curious despite the pain. What did they call you? He smiled faintly. Too emotional, too stubborn, too dangerous when scared. She thought about that, but you are kind. Sometimes, Elias said honestly, and sometimes we fail, but we try. A sudden spike appeared on the scanner. Elias straightened. The growth had shifted again, spreading across her shoulder blades in a symmetrical pattern. Thin ridges formed beneath the skin, glowing faintly with a soft, warm light. The girl gasped. It's moving. I know, Elias said, keeping his voice steady. Focus on my voice, you're safe here. Outside the door, voices echoed. Station security again. Elias ignored them for now. He adjusted the bay's energy field, lowering ambient stress signals. Human medbays were designed with comfort in mind, not efficiency. Right now, that difference might save her. Minutes passed. The girl's breathing slowed. The glow dimmed slightly. That's good, Elias murmured. That's very good. But the station was not patient. The door opened without permission this time. The same alien medical official stepped inside, flanked by 2 additional security officers. Behind them hovered a small surveillance drone, its lens fixed on the girl. Your hour has passed, human, the official said. Step away. Elias turned slowly. She's stabilizing. The official's crest rippled in agitation. The growth has expanded. That confirms the threat. No, Elias said. It confirms response. She's reacting to fear. Fear causes mistakes, the official replied coldly. Remove yourself. The girl shrank back, the glow beneath her skin flaring brighter. Elias moved instantly, placing himself between her and the officers. Stop, he said sharply. You're making it worse. One of the officers raised a restraint device. The girl cried out, clutching her back. The scanner alarm blared, the growth surged. In a matter of seconds, the tissue pushed outward, tearing through the thin fabric of her clothing without harming her skin. Plates unfolded like living armor, smooth and curved, locking together with soft, organic clicks. A translucent shield shimmered into place, arching over her back and sides. The restraint beam struck the shield and vanished harmlessly. Silence filled the room. The officers froze. The official stepped back, eyes wide. Elias stared in awe, fear forgotten for a moment. The structure was beautiful in a way no machine could ever be. Alive, purposeful, and most important of all, it angled itself between the girl and every source of perceived danger. Not toward Elias, toward the others. She's not attacking, Elias said quietly. She's defending. The shield pulsed once, then steadied. The girl sobbed softly, overwhelmed but unharmed. I didn't mean to, she whispered. I didn't want to scare anyone. Elias knelt beside her, careful not to touch the living structure without permission. You didn't do anything wrong. The official regained composure quickly, though fear still lingered. This confirms containment is necessary. Now, Elias stood. No, you cannot stop this, the official snapped. Elias looked at the officers. You see it. She stopped when you stopped threatening her. The officers exchanged uneasy glances. They had been trained for criminals, smugglers, pirates, not children who grew shields when afraid. She is unstable, the official insisted. So is half the galaxy when cornered, Elias replied. The station intercom crackled. Medical Council override requested. Elias' console buzzed at the same time. A human authority signal cut through the noise. This is Dr. Helen Strauss, Earth Medical Command, a calm voice said through his earpiece. Elias, we're receiving your data. Relief washed through him. Thank you for responding. We see what you see, Dr. Strauss continued. And we agree that child is not a weapon, the alien official stiffened. Human authority does not supersede station law, Dr. Strauss's voice hardened slightly. Human relief protocol applies when human personnel are involved, and my officer is involved. The girl's shield flickered as tension rose again. Elias raised his hand. Enough, all of you. The room quieted. She responds to fear, he said. So stop acting like she's your enemy. The official hesitated. What is she then? Elias looked back at the girl. Her eyes met his, filled with pain, confusion, and a fragile trust. She's a survivor, he said, just like humans once were. Minutes passed in strained silence. Finally, the official spoke. We will withdraw temporarily, but this will be reviewed. The officers backed away slowly. The door slid shut. The shield relaxed, folding slightly inward. The glow dimmed. The girl collapsed into Elias' arms, exhausted. He supported her carefully, feeling the warmth of the living structure beneath his hands. You did amazing, he whispered. She shook her head weakly. I was scared. So was I, Elias admitted. And that's okay. Dr. Strauss's voice returned. Elias, listen carefully. This adaptive trait is rare. Your presence seems to regulate it. I noticed, Elias said. She calms when she feels safe. Then keep her safe, Dr. Strauss replied. We'll push for extended protection, but it won't be easy. Elias looked down at the girl. She had already drifted into a light sleep, her breathing slow and even. The shield remained partially formed like folded wings at rest. He brushed her hair gently from her face. I've got you, he murmured. Outside the medbay, rumors spread quickly. Security footage leaked. Whispers traveled through the station. A child who grew armor, a human who stood in front of her. Fear followed the story, but so did curiosity. And somewhere deep within the station's data networks, ancient records stirred, forgotten species, lost guardians. Traits erased by war and misunderstanding. The growth on the girl's back was not finished, and neither was the test facing humanity. The next cycle on Kepri 9 began with tension hanging in the air like static before a storm. Elias barely slept. He sat in a chair beside the medbay bench, eyes half open, listening to the soft rhythm of the girl's breathing. The living structure on her back remained folded and still, like a quiet animal at rest. Its surface reflected the dim lights of the room with a gentle sheen, neither metal nor flesh, but something in between. Every few minutes, Elias checked the scanner. The readings were stable. No aggressive energy spikes. No internal damage. Whatever the growth was, it was doing exactly what it was meant to do, protect. The girl stirred slightly and opened her eyes. For a moment, fear flashed across her face. Then she saw Elias and relaxed. You're still here, she said softly. I told you I would be, Elias replied. She shifted, wincing a little. It feels heavy. That makes sense, he said. You grew something new, that takes energy. She looked over her shoulder as much as she could. Is it ugly? Elias smiled faintly. No, it's kind of incredible. She didn't fully understand the word, but the tone made her feel better. She nodded and lay back again. Outside the medbay, things were far less calm. Station officials argued in closed rooms. Security commanders demanded answers. Traders complained about delays. Footage of the shield incident had spread despite attempts to suppress it. Every species saw something different in the recordings. Some saw danger. Others saw a miracle. Elias received a secure message on his console. Dr. Strauss again. They're digging through old records, she said. Very old. Elias frowned. Looking for what? Anything related to the Trellari, she replied. Turns out most of their history was conveniently lost. That doesn't surprise me, Elias said quietly. The girl shifted again, her breathing becoming uneven. The scanner beeped softly. Elias leaned closer. What's wrong? She hesitated, then spoke. I feel pulling like it wants to do something. Elias checked the readings. The growth was changing again, but slowly this time. New layers formed beneath the surface, thinner, spreading outward like veins of light. Do you feel scared? He asked. She thought for a moment. No, not scared, just worried. About what? About you, she said. Elias blinked. Me. They don't like you protecting me, she whispered. They might hurt you. Something tight formed in Elias' chest. That's my choice, he said gently. You don't have to carry that. But the growth reacted anyway, glowing slightly brighter. Elias realized something then. The shield wasn't only reacting to her fear. It was reacting to concern, to emotional bonds. That realization scared him more than the armor itself. The door chimed softly. Elias stiffened but relaxed when he saw a human engineer step inside, escorted by a single station guard. This is Marcus Lee, the guard said reluctantly, human technical consultant. Marcus looked around, eyes widening slightly at the sight of the girl and the folded structure. Wow, he breathed. So it's real. Elias nodded. What did you find? Marcus activated a holo display. Ancient symbols filled the air, translated slowly. We pulled fragments from extinct data archives. Most species never bothered preserving them, but humans did. We archive everything. Elias felt a grim satisfaction at that. Marcus continued. The Trellari weren't weak. They were guardians, their bodies adapted to protect others. Entire cities were built around them. The girl listened quietly, though she didn't understand all the words. They didn't fight wars, Marcus said. They ended them by standing in the way. Elias looked back at the girl, understanding clicking into place. And that scared everyone, Marcus nodded. Empires don't like beings that can't be controlled. The station guard shifted uncomfortably. If this gets out, it already is, Elias said. As if on cue, alarms sounded again, different this time. Deeper, emergency tones. Marcus frowned. That's not internal. Elias' console lit up with incoming alerts. External threat. Unidentified vessels emerging near the station. The girl's eyes widened. The glow beneath her skin brightened instinctively. Easy, Elias said, placing a hand gently on her arm. You're safe. But even as he said it, the station shook slightly. A distant impact reverberated through the structure. The intercom crackled. All personnel remain calm. Defensive measures engaged. Elias looked at Marcus. Who would attack a trade station? Marcus swallowed. Anyone who wants what's inside. The alien medical official burst into the medbay moments later, panic visible now despite their usual composure. We have incoming hostiles. They're demanding transfer of the Trellari child. Elias felt his blood run cold. Who are they? The official hesitated. A private enforcement fleet. They claim ownership rights over biological assets from the war. The girl clutched Elias' sleeve. They mean me? Elias knelt in front of her. Listen to me. No one owns you. The station shook again, harder this time. Lights flickered. The growth on the girl's back unfolded further, the shield expanding slightly, reacting to the danger outside. She's responding to the station-wide threat, Marcus said quietly, not just herself. Elias made a decision. She can help, he said. The official stared at him. You want to use her? No, Elias replied firmly. I want to ask her. He turned to the girl. You don't have to do anything, but your body knows how to protect, and a lot of people here can't. She looked at the floor, then back at him. Will it hurt? Elias didn't lie. Maybe, but I'll be with you. She nodded slowly. Then okay. As if in response, the shield expanded further, not violently, but steadily. The living structure adjusted its shape, forming overlapping layers that resonated with the station's hull frequency. Marcus's eyes widened. She's syncing with the structure. Outside, weapons fire struck the station's outer defenses. Several sections failed. Then something incredible happened. The girl's shield flared brightly, and a wave of energy spread outward through the station's frame, not destructive, reinforcing. Weak points strengthened. Hull breaches sealed temporarily. Energy redistributed. The station stopped shaking. Silence followed. External sensors showed the attacking fleet's weapons dispersing harmlessly against an invisible barrier now surrounding the station. In the medbay, everyone stared in stunned silence. The girl slumped forward, exhausted. Elias caught her, holding her carefully. It worked, she whispered. Yes, Elias said softly. It did. Across Kepri 9, panic turned into awe. Crews stared at displays in disbelief. The child they wanted to lock away had just saved tens of thousands of lives. The alien official lowered their head slowly. We were wrong. Elias didn't answer. He was focused only on the small, trembling form in his arms. The growth folded inward again, resting, not gone. Just waiting. Outside the station, the hostile fleet retreated. Their mission failed. And across the galaxy, a long-buried truth began to surface. The Trellari were never monsters. They were shields. And for the first time in a very long while, a human had recognized that before it was too late. The silence after the attack felt unreal. Kepri 9 still stood whole, its lights steady again, its corridors filled with confused but living beings. Emergency alarms faded into soft warning tones, then stopped completely. Across the station, crews slowly left their shelters. Screens replayed sensor data again and again, trying to explain what logic could not. A trade station had survived a direct assault from a private enforcement fleet. Because of a child. Inside the medbay, Elias held the girl as she slept. Her small body felt lighter now, as if some great tension had finally eased. The living structure on her back had folded almost completely, resting close to her skin like layered wings. It no longer glowed, but it felt warm under Elias' careful hand. Marcus Lee stood nearby, staring at the scanner readouts with disbelief. The station's hull integrity is at 98%, he said quietly. That shouldn't be possible. Elias didn't answer. He was too focused on the girl's breathing, slow and steady. The door slid open again, this time without force or raised voices. The alien medical official entered alone. No guards, no drones. Their posture was different now, crest lowered, movements careful. She saved us, the official said softly. Elias looked up. She didn't choose to be attacked. No, the official agreed, but she chose to protect. They stepped closer, stopping a respectful distance away. The council chambers are in chaos. Every major species is demanding answers. Elias shifted slightly, adjusting the blanket around the girl. Good, they should. The official hesitated. The enforcement fleet, they retreated, but they are not gone. They will return with lawyers, claims, threats. She is not property, Elias said firmly. I know, the official replied, but knowing and enforcing are different things. Before Elias could respond, the girl stirred. Her eyes opened slowly, unfocused at first. Then she saw Elias. Did I do it wrong? She whispered. Elias felt his chest tight. No, you did it perfectly, she blinked. The shaking stopped. Yes, Elias said, because of you. Her brow furrowed slightly. People aren't shouting anymore. That's because they're trying to understand, he said gently. She thought about that, then winced slightly. I'm very tired. You should rest, Elias said. She nodded and drifted back to sleep, her fingers still loosely gripping his sleeve. Marcus cleared his throat. Elias, the data from that energy pulse, it wasn't random. She didn't just block the attack. She reinforced the station by reading its weaknesses. The alien official's eyes widened. You're saying she understood our structure? Marcus nodded, instinctively, like a body knowing how to heal itself. Elias looked down at the child again. She felt the station was afraid. The official was quiet for a long moment. Then they said there are records, rumors, ancient council notes we dismissed as myths. About living shields, Marcus said. Yes, the official admitted, species that evolved not to conquer but to endure. And they were erased, Elias said. Because fear always chooses destruction over understanding. The official did not argue. Hours passed. The med bay remained guarded now, but not as a prison. Human personnel rotated in quietly, offering supplies, checking systems, speaking softly. No one raised their voice. Outside, the station's main council convened an emergency session. Screens displayed the girl's shield in slow motion. The same images played again and again. A small form standing against overwhelming force, without anger, without attack. Public opinion shifted rapidly. When the girl woke again, it was to warmth and quiet voices. Elias was still there. So was a woman she hadn't seen before, human with gentle eyes. I'm Dr. Strauss, the woman said softly. May I sit? The girl glanced at Elias, who nodded. She's a friend. Dr. Strauss sat carefully. You did something very important, she said, and very kind. The girl looked confused. I just didn't want people to get hurt. That, Strauss said, is exactly what made it important. The girl was quiet for a while. Then she asked, will they take me now? Elias felt the question like a blade. No, Dr. Strauss said firmly, not without going through us. The girl's eyes searched their faces. You'll stay, Elias answered without hesitation. Always. Something shifted in the room then. Not energy, not light, trust. But outside the med bay, the galaxy did not slow down for trust. The enforcement fleet returned, not with weapons blazing, but with legal demands, political pressure, and veiled threats. They broadcast claims across open channels, citing old war contracts and abandoned treaties. She is a biological asset, their spokesperson declared, recovered from contested space. The words echoed across the station. Inside the council chamber, debates turned heated. She saved us, one representative shouted. She is too dangerous, another replied. She is a child, a human delegate said coldly. And under human protection, threats followed, trade embargoes, diplomatic consequences, the usual tools of power. Elias watched the proceedings through a secure feed, the girl resting against his side. She didn't understand the words, but she understood the tone. Her body tensed slightly. It's okay, Elias whispered. You're safe. The growth on her back stirred faintly, reacting to the tension in the air. Dr. Strauss frowned. Her body is picking up emotional stress beyond this room. She's connected, Marcus said quietly, to people, to places. A sudden alert flashed on the screens. Multiple stress spikes across the station, a voice reported. Structural instability increasing in older sectors. Elias looked sharply at the girl. She was frowning now, eyes closed, as if listening to something far away. "It hurts," she murmured. "Too many voices." Elias knelt in front of her. "Look at me, focus on me." She opened her eyes slowly. The glow beneath her skin brightened slightly but did not flare. "You don't have to fix everything," Elias said. "You're not alone." The glow softened. But outside, the enforcement fleet made a final move. They began cutting power to peripheral systems, targeting civilian sectors, hoping to force compliance. Panic rippled through the station. The girl gasped, clutching her back. The living structure unfolded rapidly now, larger than before, reacting not just to danger, but to injustice. "No," Elias said firmly, placing both hands on her shoulders. "Only if you choose to." She looked at him, tears in her eyes. "They'll hurt people." Elias closed his eyes briefly. This was the moment, the line no one wanted to cross. "If you do this," he said slowly, "they will never ignore you again." She swallowed. "I don't want them to be afraid." Elias smiled sadly. "Sometimes being seen is scary," she nodded once. "Then I'll be seen." The shield expanded, not violently, but with purpose. It spread through the station's frame again, stronger this time, clearer. The energy pulse did not just block attacks, it spoke. Across the station, systems stabilized. Power returned. Civilian sectors calmed. The enforcement fleet's control signals were overridden, their interference neutralized without damage. Their ships went dark, not destroyed, but helpless. Across every channel, a simple message appeared, translated into dozens of languages. "No harm will come to those who do not bring harm." The fleet withdrew in silence. In the council chamber, no one spoke for a long time. Then slowly, representatives began to stand, not in fear, in respect. Back in the medbay, the girl collapsed forward, exhausted beyond words. Elias caught her again, holding her as the shield folded away, resting once more against her back. "You did more than protect," Dr. Strauss whispered. "You changed things." The girl didn't answer. She was already asleep. Elias looked around the room, at the humans and aliens standing quietly together, all of them alive because one small orphan had chosen compassion over fear. Outside, the galaxy felt a shift it could not yet name. And deep within the living shield on the girl's back, something ancient settled into place, not as a weapon, but as a promise. The hardest part was still ahead. But for the first time, the galaxy would have to face it honestly. The days that followed felt different across Kepri, 9, not louder, not quieter, just changed. People walked the corridors more slowly. Conversations stopped when others passed, not out of fear, but thought. The trade station had always been a place of movement and profit, but now it carried something else, memory. Everyone remembered the moment the station should have broken apart, and didn't. At the center of that memory was a small room in the human relief sector. The girl slept most of the time now. Her body had given more than anyone had realized. Elias stayed close, leaving only when human staff insisted he eat or rest. Even then, he never went far. When she woke, she was calmer than before. The pain in her back had faded to a dull ache. The living structure rested quietly beneath her skin, no longer sharp or bright. It felt complete. "Is it gone?" she asked once, touching her back carefully. "No," Elias said. "It's just resting like you." She seemed relieved by that. Outside the medbay, decisions were being made that would echo for generations. The Galactic Council reconvened, this time with human representatives holding firm ground. Evidence was presented, records uncovered, ancient footage translated at last. The truth of the Trellari spread across every major network. They had never been weapons. They had been guardians placed at the edges of fragile worlds, chosen not for power but for empathy. When danger came, they stood in front of it. When fear ruled, they were erased. And now one remained. The enforcement fleet's legal claims collapsed under public pressure. No one wanted to be remembered as the ones who tried to cage a child who saved a station. Trade partners withdrew support. Contracts vanished overnight. Power shifted, as it often did, quietly and all at once. Elias didn't follow the politics closely. He had one job now, and it was far more important. One evening cycle, the girl woke and found him asleep in the chair beside her bed. His head had tilted forward, one hand still resting near hers. She watched him for a long moment, then she reached out and touched his sleeve. He woke instantly. "Hey," he said softly. "You okay?" She nodded. "I had a dream." "What about?" She searched for the words. I was standing in front of many people. They were afraid, but then they weren't. Elias smiled gently. Sounds like a good dream. She frowned slightly. I don't want to stand alone. You won't, he said. Not anymore. Later that day, Dr. Strauss returned with news. The council has agreed, she said. Full protected status, not just for her, but for any surviving Trellari we can find. Elias felt something loosen in his chest. You mean? We'll search, Strauss said. Everywhere, and until then, she stays under human guardianship. The girl listened quietly, then asked, Does that mean I stay with you? Elias didn't look to Strauss for permission. Yes, she leaned against him, small and warm. Good. The announcement went public within the hour. Across the galaxy, reactions were mixed. Some celebrated. Some protested, but no one could deny what had happened. Footage of the station's survival played again and again, alongside recordings of Elias standing in front of the girl, refusing to move. A new phrase began to circulate in quiet places. When fear rises, look for the humans. They will stand where others step away. Preparations were made for departure. The girl could not remain on Kepri 9 forever. Too many eyes, too much pressure. Earth had offered sanctuary, and for once the offer came without conditions. The transport ship was small, human-built, designed for comfort rather than display. Elias helped the girl board slowly, making sure she felt steady with each step. She paused at the ramp and looked back at the station. Will it be safe? She asked. Yes, Elias said. Because now people know what they almost lost. She nodded, satisfied. As the ship undocked, Kepri 9 grew smaller in the viewport. The girl pressed her forehead against the glass. I was very scared there, she said. So was I, Elias replied, but you were brave. She considered that. I was scared and brave. That's how it usually works, he said with a smile. The journey to Earth took time, long enough for quiet moments, for stories. Elias told her about rain and oceans and forests that went on forever. She told him about her homeworld, about how the sky changed colors and how her people sang to calm storms. As she spoke, the living structure on her back responded gently, glowing faintly, not in defense but in recognition. When they arrived, the welcome was not loud. No crowds. No speeches, just a quiet facility surrounded by green hills and open sky. The girl stepped out onto real ground for the first time in her memory. She took a deep breath. It feels big, she said. Elias laughed softly. Yeah, it does. Days turned into weeks. The girl grew stronger. She laughed more. The pain disappeared completely. The shield remained part of her, but it no longer reacted to every small fear. It had learned, just as she had, that not all unknown things were threats. Other Trellari were found, few, scattered. Broken by years of hiding. When they arrived, something remarkable happened. Their own dormant traits began to awaken, not violently, not suddenly, but gently, under care, under kindness, under the simple safety of not being hunted. Human scientists watched in awe, but they did not interfere. They had learned that lesson. One evening, as the sun set in warm colors, the girl sat beside Elias on a low hill. The wind moved through the grass around them. Do you think they will be afraid again? She asked. Elias thought carefully. Some will. Fear doesn't disappear forever. She looked down at her hands. What do we do then? He placed a hand over his heart. We do what humans have always done at our best. We stand, we protect, we care. She smiled softly. Then I'm glad you found me. Elias felt his eyes sting. I'm glad you found me too. Far beyond Earth, in council chambers and trade halls, policies shifted. Guardianship programs formed. Old records were re-examined. Other forgotten species were remembered. All because one small voice had whispered in fear, and a human had listened. The galaxy would never become gentle overnight, but something had changed at its core. A truth had been proven. Power did not always come from weapons. Sometimes it grew quietly on the back of a frightened child. And sometimes, the strongest thing a human could do was stay exactly where they were and refuse to let fear decide who deserved to exist.